Good evening. Welcome to the latest edition of Storm Report Live. We are presented by the Pharmacy in Manchester, as well as Bennington, Coggins Auto Group of Bennington, Ramontos North Adams, and JC Tractor. Tonight we are joined by, my co-host Adam Samarov, as well as the 2022 NEFL Defensive MVP Cory Viscosi. Adam, let's hit the ground running.
All right. I believe it's Viscosi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Let's start over. Hit the reset button. I don't think I've ever mispronounced it, and here I am.
Well, he's a guy from where I'm from. He's from the Mohawk Valley area. Him and I are from the same area, so I'm familiar with some of his family as well. But welcome to the Storm Report. This is the third time that a Storm player has earned the defensive MVP for the league. 2018, Billy Deemers got it, and then in 2013, Gary Houston got it. That's almost 10 years ago, but we won't give Gary any guff for that. Talk about when you hear that you're up for and then earning that award. What does that mean to you in terms of what you did this year for the Storm?
Well, I'll be honest. I'm happy it happened this year. Getting old, didn't think I was going to get a defense MVP again, but I'm happy I did. But my father's probably not going to be here next year at all, so I'm glad he got to watch this year. That's what meant the most for me. So,
no, you had a hell of a year. I know we talked about this, off the air, as they say. But yeah, man, you've accomplished a lot this season. We're very, very proud of what you've accomplished, for sure.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, for people that don't know, who you are, and I see your name and they see obviously all the accomplishments. Talk about getting involved with the Storm and how that came to be, and your involvement with this organization.
Well, most everyone knows I came from TFI. And what was it? Was it 2020?
Yeah. Yep.
When COVID struck, New York couldn't play anywhere, and I got curious. I just wanted to play somewhere, and I reached out and I started playing for a few games over at with Vermont, and I liked it ever since. And I had a little bad blood with the TFI coach about it, but other than that, this year I wanted to come back since we weren't going to have a team, and I just didn't want to lose a step. I don't like missing games.
No, we talked again, previous to us coming on, that, you turned it on this year. I felt as though right from day one that you felt like you're at home. And I don't know if, obviously 2020 was, a valuable tool probably for you to feel like you're at home, but you really kind of hit the ground running. And the biggest thing, as somebody that, tries to, not tries, but have run the defense, it's been a pleasure to have somebody, with your experience being able to say, hey, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this, maybe we shouldn't do that. And you saw it big time this year. We started out in the 4-3. I don't know that any of us would have said, we would have been, and I'm putting this in air quotes because it's somewhat true. We were pretty dominant in the 3-4. So having the ability to do that and it really comes down to having guys that you can trust, and we trusted you right from the beginning. And you're, one of, actually the whole defense in the end, I think really kind of came together. But, for me, when we're talking about, defensive MVP nominations, to me, it was you and I don't know who else. That was just my opinion, at least.
Well, you're definitely, that home feeling definitely set off in 2020, and I wanted to come back and actually play an entire year here. And coming out with the team in the beginning, it was new faces, and I had to go up for my position again. I had to show what I had and put my name out there so I could get my spot. And that's how every season is to me. I love playing the game so much, and that's why I don't stop.
Overall, team-wise, the Storm in 15 games allowed only less than 9 points a game, 4 times less than a touchdown. Talk about being the leader, a leader for a group like that, when you can look at those other 10 guys and, just know that, I do what I do and those guys do their job and we're going to be successful.
It was awesome. It was basically making new chemistry right off the get go. And I'll be honest, our linebacker core was it was almost, I think, every practice. I want to say, and us four in there, and three of us, whatever. Like we throughout the season, we worked on everything we had to during practice, during pregame, everything, and it was fun having a new chemistry with new people.
No, I agree. It was fun to watch. I mean, like any other season, you start off with what you think you're going to do, and then you end up to what you need to do and what you do to be successful. And most of those things stayed consistent the whole year. And I think that was the biggest part of our success is like, we start off with a shutout, and in the following game, I think we gave up 6 points, but we just were, we're steady on defense all year. And it really came down to that chemistry that you guys built, back in March. So it's been fun to watch.
Talk about going through this year and being named one of the NEFL All-Stars as well. We had 10. Talk about being a part of that group and being able to play the game, here on our own field in front of, friends and family and people around, people, your family and things.
Well, I'm glad it was home for one.
Yeah, we both.
Yeah, two. It was nice because the NFA, the league that I played the last, I want to say 8 seasons in, back in 2016, they went away with all the All-Star stuff, the All-Star game, and I'm glad like they have a banquet and everything again, even though we didn't get to go to it, but and the All-Star game on top of it. Like I was happy to be in something like that again. It actually makes you appreciate what you do instead of just getting an All-Star award and not even having a banquet or anything.
No.
You got something where people know who you are from the season, you meet new people, and you get your name out there. I've always been about playing and letting people know my name on the back of my jersey.
I was going to say, you made your name much more, well, not much more known, but certainly took it to the next level when you took that interception back for 6. So that definitely helped your stock. But yeah, man, I mean, I know, like for me, we've never been able to host an All-Star game. I think every year it's somewhere in like mid Massachusetts somewhere. So like for me and the organizational side, it was really fun to see all the guys come together. Because we never get a chance to I can't tell you how many guys I met that Saturday. I'm like, that's a good dude. Like it was just really fun to see that because we weren't competing against each other. It was nice to kind of see some of the guys that we've been trying to, kick the door in on, so it was fun.
So, I think, the Troy team is coming back definitely. But what's your plans kind of going forward? Do you want to stay here? What's kind of the plans for you going forward?
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I say this at the end of every season. A lot can happen before the next season starts.
Uh-huh.
That's number one. So I don't really put my cards on anything until I'm ready to come put my pads back on.
Yep.
But there's been rumors about a spring season.
Yep.
And the TFI is going to be under new management, so there's not going to be any bad blood about playing with other teams and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'd be honest, if there's a spring season and then a fall season, I wouldn't mind splitting up my time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll touch on that because there's just a lot of moving pieces. I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but I think, first of all, we had a wildly successful season, even though the way it ended, it's hard to see it at that moment. But we also realize, we've had a lot of success, but I feel like in order for us to have more success or different success, that we gotta, take a look at what are our other options. From top to bottom, we're in an evaluation period. We're a little bit behind on it because we played up until 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of hard to really, jump into anything. We've talked to a bunch of people, not a bunch of leagues, but a handful of leagues have reached out to us. We're loyal by default, but it doesn't mean that we can't take a look around and see what the future brings. As much like you, I'm not gonna, it's too early to make a final decision on anything.
Yeah, it's the holidays. It's my vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm right with you on that. So but anyway, I think we're pretty much all that. Or yes, we asked pretty much all the questions that we had for Cory. I just want to thank you, man, for really showing up and showing out this year. You had a hell of a year, and you got a ton to be proud of. And it'll be we thank you for taking the time and coming on tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to play this year.
No, hey, I would do it again, and I'll do it again anytime that I can. So, all right, man.
Great minds think alike.
All right. We'll catch you soon, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, it's good to talk to him.
I mean, yeah, definitely, was one of the leaders for our team. And it proved that when, the awards came out and, all three, the Storm and the Wildcats and the Bears were all represented in the main awards for the NEFL. I thought that was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And he deserves all of that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to keep in mind, too, is like, probably shouldn't get into it, but I guess I'm going to get into it anyways. What I think some people get caught up in when it comes to like player MVPs, that a lot of times they kind of lose track of what it is. It's an award for a singular player, not a complete defense. So again, I'm treading lightly on this because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm disrespecting anybody. But the fact is, like, there probably is a more dominant defense that existed in this league. But to me, Cory kind of stood out to somebody that, kind of ultimately jumped off the page in terms of film if you were to watch it week to week. There's other teams that they were so good everywhere, it's hard to pick out one player. And it's, again, I don't know back in 2013, but I don't even know if we're the best defense in 2013 either when Gary won. I don't remember. When Billy won, we weren't the best defense either. So it's like, it really kind of depends. It's just, that's not what the award is. That's, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that he won it. He deserves it without a question, So yeah, it's neat. It's cool. So having three of them is never a bad thing,
Right, and it shows, the numbers bear it out. Like I said, allowing less than 9 points a game. I don't care who you're facing. That's a pretty impressive feat, and he deserves that definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier. I think I'm trying to find the stats because we exchanged some notes earlier today. We had what? We had 6 shutouts as a defense. We held opponents to less than 7 points 4 times. We scored 21 points on offense more than 9 times. It was a good year, and it's just really kind of crazy to think that we played 15 games.
It was definitely the longest year.
Yeah. It was
the games played.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. Like, and that's the hard part is like, the commitment was really good all year. I mean, our first practice, organized team event was in March, and we finished in late November. So you're talking 8 months, all said and done. It is, and then you have some things that are outside of your control in terms of scheduling that makes that 8 months feel even longer than it really should have been. For variation of reasons. So it's been a wild year. A lot of success, a lot of organizational success. But again, if I'm being honest, second place is getting old. So we gotta figure out a way to not be second anymore. And that kind of goes into what we're trying to figure out over the next few months.
Definitely.
So you kind of want to just, we can talk about a handful of league awards that the organization won. We can kind of go, in sequential order if you'd like. We can talk about a few games. so our first preseason game was against the Reapers. We ended up doing pretty well against them, and it's been interesting. We won. Actually, we didn't. Well, we did win some things, but we installed the scoreboard this year, which was a tremendous accomplishment for us. That scoreboard was purchased back in 2020 or 21, I believe. So it's been a few years in the making, and we used it a couple times this year and worked out some bugs with it. We realize that now we need to charge it in a different way, and it's been again, showing up here in 2018 and literally just seeing a field to where we are now. We have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, because there was a long time there where it was like, where are we playing? We played in Manchester. We played a game or two in Hoosick Falls. We played, in Schuylerville and all over the place. And to have it where there's one spot now,
yeah,
is a big deal, and a lot that went into that over a long period of time.
No, it's exciting, and again, in terms of the evaluation process and what the future is going to look like. The biggest thing we realize is, like you just said, we have a home. In terms of home games, over the years, our demographic isn't the right word, but the players our players as far as where they come from, it's starting to get to the point where we have to maybe think about having more of a centralized practice location, but we'll never leave home. It's just logistically, it might make sense as we move along to like this year, this November, we practice in Brunswick. So I think that's, that might be in the future too. And we just got to look at, ways to make our operation more successful.
And that's what good organizations do. It's never, it's the reload, not rebuild kind of mentality. Little tweaks here and there, different things that, how good organizations continue to stay at that high level.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what you just said is exactly true. We did the math earlier today. Our average margin of victory is like 22 points. Our average margin of defeat was like 6. So it's like, it's the little things. We're missing the small things, and we don't really need to, overhaul everything, but we do need to look at everything and say, okay, does this make sense anymore? And, let the, let the data kind of help you make decisions and not be ignorant to them and not be, well, this is how we've always done it. Well, guess what? Things change all the time. Those who don't change are the ones that are, looking around saying, hey, what happened?
You've got to evolve or die.
That's
simple.
And that's where we're at right now. We're blessed to have a lot of success. We're blessed to have a lot of resources. This season proved that. It's just, got to take a look from within and see what we can do better. And we're in the take a look at what we're doing stage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, this year we also won, what was it? Organization of the Year, I believe.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then we all, and I don't, my name's on it, but it's not mine. It's executive of the year. It has nothing to do with my abilities. It has to do with the group of people that, for lack of a better phrase, come to work every day for me or for us, for each other. We have a really unique group of guys, including yourself, that allows us to have a lot of success. Like, one doesn't do well without the other. It's my second one. I feel like maybe my first one was probably a little bit more special because we're coming off the 17 season and trying to kind of come up with a plan going into 18. So, I'm proud of it, but like I said, I'm tired of being second place. So you got to figure out a way to get these other awards are nice and pretty and everything, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that anybody that won any award from the league this year would gladly trade that in for a ring. And that's just kind of where we're at,
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about all of that
yes
momentarily. Another big milestone Problem maybe. I mean, other than something like hosting the All-Star game, which is kind of a overall
that was super.
organizational milestone.
That was great. Yeah.
But in our, and I have to do math, 15th season, because the 1 year was no, the team was on hiatus for a year.
Yeah.
So in the 15th season of play, we got our 100th win, beating the Bombers.
Yep.
I think for that 100th win, 28.
Yeah, that meant a lot to me. And I know, I mean, I understand there's more to it than just me. I don't say it in that breath. It's just, I was lucky enough to be part of the first win back in 06. I'll never forget it. It was against the Maine Warriors. That if I remember correctly, it was a 7.5 hour bus trip. And I'll never. I mean, it meant a lot. Only for a number of reasons. One is, like I said, I was part of it. For the first one, and being here for the 100th is pretty special. Especially,
you might be the only one, because I think Pat came in a little later. I came in a little later.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I get. Yeah,
another. Most of these guys have been around 2, 3, maybe 4, but obviously nobody's been around that long. So
no, you're right. I didn't actually give that a thought. But that's kind of neat. That's something I'll kind of remember now that you say that. But for me, it was really about continuing something that Ty Stratton and Mike Thorpe started all those years ago, and the staying power to have 100 wins. And I consider both those guys, lifelong friends. So to be able to kind of carry, I mean, Pat really is the one that really kept it going, in between those, from now and, whatever. I don't know. I want to say, I don't have the actual dates in front of me, but I want to say that Pat became responsible for like around 15 or 14, I think.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so he's really, he's really the one that kind of got us to where we are now. Meaning keeping it going, because I believe that you can take a year off and reboot the system, as they say. But I think once you start getting into more than 1 year, you might as well kind of. It's hard to get going again once you stop, And I think I mean, potentially, and on again, I'm speaking a little bit off the cuff, as they say. But it's just, I feel like if we could do it all over again, 2020 would have been a year to take off.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, the world changed, and things have been different ever since. So if you really kind of think about it that way, I would say you were probably right.
Yeah.
But like you said, would it, if you had done that, would have continued in 2021?
I think so. And again, if I had a crystal ball and I knew it was going to end because the state told us we had to, we wouldn't have ever done it. But again, it's we're just a driven bunch, man. Like, 2019 we came off another championship loss, and the moniker or motto, whatever you want to call it, was, hey, it's unfinished business. So that carried us through for quite a while. I mean, we went 6-1 in 2020, and then we actually won a playoff game, and then the state said, sorry, you can't do that anymore. I've never lost. I've never won a playoff game and then not win the championship all in the same year. That isn't supposed to happen. So it's like I said, man, if I had to do it over again, I would have taken a year off. But again, I don't know. It's hindsight's 2020. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be back for 21 and 22 if we hadn't done it. So there is positives there for sure. It's just
right, because a lot of the guys that made big impacts for us this year came to us in that 2020 shortened season.
Yeah.
And so if you take off that season, a lot of those guys either go to Troy or go to maybe Glens Falls, just different organizations.
Yeah.
Between New York and Massachusetts.
Yeah. So yeah, man, 100th win is cool. But you know what's even cooler? A championship ring. I joke with the guys a lot, and I said, "Hey, man, like I haven't done it this year, but I've in the years past have taken a picture of the ring and say, hey, this ring here is getting pretty tired of living single. And it's just, and honestly too, there's like, it's hard to be upset with success. You know what I'm saying? But it's also like, what do we got to do? And it's just, we're really close, and I'm very proud of where we're at. It's just, we're not there yet. And it's hard for me to accept that, considering how hard all of our guys work, but we will get there. I promise you that.
Well, let's talk about some more things, some more milestones for this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the first time that I can remember, we were ranked not once but twice. I know in the past we've definitely been ranked here and there. Maybe we're ranked for a week or two, whatever it is. But this time it was definitely more consistent. And against some of the top teams, the Blitzen Bears obviously being one, the Wildcats obviously being that, and then teams from the other leagues, all around the Northeast. I guess, tell me a little bit in terms of these guys put the work in, and we were able to. I mean, obviously, you see wins and losses. That's obvious, but to see it where other people and other leagues see the Southern Vermont Storm being a successful organization.
I don't want to shortchange anything we've ever done, but I think it kind of started in 2020 when there was only, I don't know, we'll say instead of 24 teams, there's 12 because of COVID. So we kind of started to leak into people's viewfinder, I guess, back then. This year, though, we've been neck and neck with the number one ranked team in the country. And to me, like, again, I'm very proud of where we're at. The thing is, too, is like, I joke, every once in a while I'll put something out there. Hey, it's not bad for a little old team from Vermont, but that's the truth. We do to an extent, but we don't pull from a major city. We don't have, we're in a very small community. I've heard some stuff in the past. I don't even consider this a bad thing, but every once in a while I'll hear the Tri-State Storm, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But in order for us to succeed, we gotta cast that net really, really wide, and all these guys have to work really, really hard to be on this team. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not like you're driving down the street and you're at practice. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for us, we're lucky to be able to provide the things we need for guys to be able to be successful. But again, to answer your question, we've never been ranked twice in a season. Curiously, though, we somehow fell off the ranking somehow. I don't know how, but with that being said, we got an invite for the Harvest Bowl, which we've never done before, or never had that opportunity before.
I will say that whoever does the rankings for the semi-pro leagues is the same group that picks the college football playoff.
Yeah, we're not the hot date,
No. And then you mentioned obviously the Harvest Bowl. First time that the Storm has been invited to one of the, I guess, off-season bowls, I guess they would probably call it, or maybe postseason bowls.
Yeah.
Similar to some of the colleges, if they don't get into the D3 colleges for football, if they don't get into the 32 team tournament.
Yep.
The ECAC has the bowls and things like that. So they're still important. They're not the tournament, but they're still important. And because of our second place finish in our league, we were invited to the Harvest Bowl. And for the first game we ended up playing was the ECFL, East Coast Football League's Northeast Bulls. And they were the A champions.
Double A champions.
The Double A champions.
Yep.
And we beat them 6-0.
Yep.
Talk about that game a little bit. Obviously, defense at a premium, just like it was, like we talked with Cory. Offense did enough to get it done. Just talk about that game and just having the opportunity to play for that championship.
It was a really cool opportunity. We've had
smoke him if you got him.
Yeah. But anyway, so we won a championship at 17, and we never got an invite for whatever reason, and that was something that in between transition in between 17 and 18, players going here, players going there. That was one of the rubs that we had heard a few times, that some of the guys were upset they didn't get a chance for that opportunity. But the fact of the matter is, we never got it. At that point, we're a single A team that just came back, so we weren't really on anybody's radar. So it's really taken those 5 years to really kind of get on somebody's radar. So to be able to play what is perceived to be a superior team to us at home and win 6-0 was very satisfying, because that game was one of those games where it was a complete team effort. It wasn't, I understand we always scored 6 points. I understand all that. But opportunities were there. Defensively, we're very, very good that day. Special teams are very good that day. We moved the ball that day, but we unfortunately, the mark on our season for a lot of times in terms of when we lost was, we didn't lose this one, but the self-inflicted stuff. We didn't do that much in that game. So I was very proud of that. And then, we beat them, and then we end up going to Haverhill and, unfortunately coming up short by a point.
Haverhill.
Yeah.
It's Haverhill.
Whatever. Hitman, how's that? No disrespect to them. It's just, I just felt like we didn't finish the job. And unfortunately, that happened to us twice this year. And with some really bad timing wise.
And that game ended up being 7-6.
Yeah.
The game against the Hitmen.
Yeah.
And obviously good luck to them, if they are going to Florida, which I see a little bit of stuff on that they're raising money, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can represent up here for to show the kind of quality that we have in our semi-pro here in the Northeast. But like you said, we beat ourselves a little bit, and that's obviously an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're a good team. We lost to them. I mean, it is what it is. But you're right, and I think that's one thing that I'm starting to notice too is like, we're kind of an outlier. I don't want to call it. I mean, I guess we're technically New England in terms of being in Vermont. But it's just like it is pretty impressive when you sit back and think about how many good teams there are in a very small area. And I think it really kind of comes down to how the teams are ran. There's a lot of good ownership here in this area. I mean, I don't know how many years Hitmen have been around. I don't know. I know Emilio's had a few different teams here or there, but there's a lot of quality organizations, and that's honestly in terms of what I do, behind the scenes. Being able to play teams that are quality ran organizations, those are the ones that you want to play against. I don't really enjoy, hoping that a team's going to show up. I want to know that they're going to come. We're going to give them their best. They're going to give us the best. And a Hitmen are one of those teams.
And that was the good thing this year, playing the Wildcats, playing the Bears.
Yep.
On-field stuff aside, however that goes, or whatever, talking with their coaching staffs and their people, like, they love football. They want to be there the same reason we're there, and they run, they run great organizations just like we do. So it's nice to have a group of, at least in this year, at least was 3. And the Bombers, even though the team was struggling, they the same way when we had a lot of those guys come for the All-Star game.
That was great. That was
they were right into it, and they were cool, and so we have lots of great organizations in terms of that, even if the product on the field was a struggle in the Bombers case.
Yeah, I'll say it again, and I'll say it every opportunity I get. The Bombers are on the right track. I'm telling you, they have good people, they have respectful players, they have nice uniforms. They got everything they need. It's just a matter of time. They will be, in a very short period of time, a team that you need to be concerned about. That I'm certain of, because like their coaches have past experience as well. So I really see them turning the corner. Like you touched on before, getting to know those guys was fun. Stanley, coming on here, I don't know, a month ago now, probably. Yep. It was good to. It was. I don't know. I think that's probably the one thing, at least, that I think gets missed sometimes is it is really a brotherhood. You know,
I always say there's a reason why when the game is over and like we had those games against the Bears this year and it was 3 knock them out, knock them down, drag them out, battles, you know, uh having both Wiggins brothers, Levante playing for the Bears and Joe, so we got that kind of brother rivalry kind of thing going on. And as soon as the game is over, it's like, hey, let's get in the middle, let's thank why we're here and we love the game, and that's it. So I love that. I always have loved that about what we do there in the
no doubt about it. And it is like the other thing too is like I know we've already mentioned we played 15 games, but it's just like we played a lot of good stinking games this year. Like, I mean, honestly, like I mean, again, I bet you if people were given some truth serum, I think there's a couple occasions that a undefeated team was like, man, we might lose this. And that's healthy. Like that isn't a hateful thing. It's just like there's a lot of competition that went on in those games.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to after the championship, I had talked to Levante and I was like, hey, we give you guys a run for it. We were right there and everything. And he admitted like probably, they probably win 6-10. And I'm like, it's either 5-5 or 6-10. Either way. Either we win 6 or you guys win 6. Like it's never going to be winning them all or we're winning them all.
And that's what you want.
It's a great rival, thing between the two.
Oh, that's what you want. The only difference is, I mean, all time I think are 1-4 against them. That's not good enough.
Right, and that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's that's why you do it. Anybody that enjoys football shouldn't really want a 35 or 50-0 game every week. Like you shouldn't want that. I mean, that's what Madden's for. You want to go out there and compete. You want to play against teams that ultimately, hopefully, respect you by the time the game's over.
And I think we had that a lot this year.
Yeah,
I think we had that a lot this year.
Yeah, look how great the Wildcats games have been over the last however many years. Like that's a great matchup. Like it doesn't matter if it's here, it doesn't matter if it's there. I mean, we split this year on the road. I was
gonna say they beat us in Bennington, and we beat them in Worcester.
Yeah, that's always a great game. I mean, it's. I mean, there's a lot to look back on. It's like, man, that was really a good year. It's honestly, truthfully, even though we've had second place finish. Excuse me, even though we won a championship in the past, I truly believe this was our best year ever. I really do.
And as a whole, organization, teams, the whole thing. And I've been around this since 2012, and maybe even a couple of years before that, covering it for the newspaper and stuff.
Different variations,
different variations of it and everything. And I would have to agree, in my educated opinion. I would have to agree that this
and again, I know we've already kind of covered the the whole Harvest Bowl thing, but like. I mean, to me, I couldn't accept it fast enough because I knew that we were a quality football team. I will be honest, though. I did expect a little bit more commitment from some people in order to reach their goal to kind of undo the bad deed in terms of losing the other championship. I wouldn't have done it. Well, I can't say that. It would have been nice to be. It sucks losing 2 championships in one season. But there's an awful lot of teams out there that have never been to one. In 5 years, we've been to 3. Not counting the Harvest Bowl. But we've been in 3 championships in 5 years.
I mean, you look at pick a sport. Pick a NFL, Buffalo, trying to get there forever. Baseball, same thing. Just these teams that never get a chance. Yeah. Seattle for the first time this year in baseball since 2001, and they finally made like the wild card and whatever. And so it wasn't like, oh, well, we lost in the wild card. That wasn't a successful season. But you look at that fan base, and it's like, well, we haven't even had a chance in 21 years.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way about the Bills. Truthfully, I mean, it's just like, everybody and not everybody, but a good part of the country thinks, at least in the beginning of the year, that Buffalo, is the Super Bowl favorite. But things have a habit of not working out the way that you had written down. And the same thing can be said about us. I mean, let's face it, Von Miller's out for the year now. That sucks. But I also remember years too, and again, there's been years where I felt like there's been years where the Chiefs have been the far superior team, but didn't even make it to the Super Bowl. It doesn't really matter how great your team is. You have to prove how great your team is. You have to prove that you're ready to play in the big moments. And I just feel like, in terms, I know we're not talking about the Bills necessarily, but the fact of the matter is you got to be the best when it matters. And I felt like we worked our way up to that point this year for us, but we just came up a little bit short. And I don't know that, just because you have an underperforming year in terms of expectations, but it could all be fixed with a championship. Doesn't matter how you get there. Winning fixes everything, as they say.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to actually talk a little bit too about hosting the All-Star game. Like I said, with Cory, we had 10 All-Stars. All 10 guys were there because it was in Bennington, which is helpful.
That was really a nice change.
But just you kind of mentioned it with Cory, but I'll kind of go back to it real quick, fairly quickly. Talk about being able to host that game when we're the geographical outlier.
Yeah.
And being able to have them say, okay, we trust in your organization and the way you guys run things that you can host the All-Star game and bring these guys in to your place.
Oh, it's a huge honor. The genesis of it was, they, like I said, those games are typically held in, mid-state Mass for lack of a better phrase, just because it is a New England Football League and
Central Mass is central to the rest of the league.
Yeah, and it never really has been. And the opportunity for us to kind of really, because, the whole point of it was like the only reason why we even brought up the idea of hosting is we wanted to hold a charity game. I think it was November 5th, which I think is when the All-Star game happened to be.
Yep.
So that was really the whole part of it is we wanted to do something good for the community. Which
good segue, because that's what I was going to talk about next.
Yeah. So, for us, it was really cool. It's really, and again, it didn't go perfectly, obviously, because we had a jersey issue, which was outside of Storm's control, but it did create some discussion about what we want to do in the future. And I know this may seem simplistic and somewhat unimportant, but if you saw I actually got the sweatshirt on, and Cory had it too. But it really kind of came down to having a logo and having something to look back on, like our but the jerseys that we got for the All-Star jerseys, that have the logo on it. That's something that kind of marks the event, and that's something they're looking to do. It doesn't mean we're going to host it next year or anything, but they are looking to do that year over year, so there's some memory to it. So there's some specialness to it, and it isn't. You know what I'm saying? That was to me the biggest jump.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, you are wearing it. So if you just move up about like this, I can see it. I think you have the mountain in there, and you have the monument in there. Yeah, so it's like it shows. I mean, it looks very Colorado Rockies, but it's Bennington. It shows the mountains. It shows the monument. It's got Bennington. It says we had this, and that's a big. I think that's big for us. Obviously, that's obviously big for us.
No, it's big for everybody because now again, others hopefully will. Again, I don't know if it will be or won't be here, but if it's not, hopefully that allows someone else to pick up the ball and say, yeah, we're gonna represent our community because that's important.
Right, and then to top it off and to say, okay, not only are we going to do this, which is a big deal for us and for the league, we're going to host a food drive at the same time.
Yeah,
and be able to give back to the community that supports what we want to do here.
Yeah.
And so talk about, and it's not only that, it's a food drive, toy drive is continuing right now. Just talk about some of those community things. I think sometimes you get left. Sometimes people don't think about them because we're so focused on like the games and what happens and wins and losses and all those things. And we sometimes forget about the other.
Well, the biggest thing is just the fact that, like we talked about maybe even last week, it's in order for us to kind of stay here, we gotta be about here, and we gotta take the opportunity to use. I don't want to use the phrase, use of power for good, but we do have a good reach. Like I talked about before, we have been called in the past the Tri-State Storm. I don't think that's a bad thing. That allows us to kind of really reach some people. Like I myself, the same thing for you. I live in New York. You live in New York. Pat lives in New York. Josh, I believe, lives in New York. I'm not sure about that at the moment.
But he's also a Mount Anthony graduate, so he's
right.
got Bennington ties.
Yeah. So then Mike had, or at least Mike has some Massachusetts ties. So I mean, there's a lot of reach that we have. So for us, it's important. It's good. We like to think we make a difference. I know the food drive is very successful. I know we have 3 days left for the pharmacy toy drive, and I was there about 2 weeks ago, roughly, and that box was pretty full.
Yeah, and we had Beth on from Spirit of Sharing, Beth Sosville from Spirit of Sharing on last week, and she was talking about how many kids this kind of program helps, and gives somebody that is families that are struggling, a chance to have something for their kids maybe that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I learned a lot too, because Donna with the pharmacy, who's been a huge help for us. Big shout out to Donna. She, during that conversation, she sent me the link for, which I need to share to the team page. But there is an organization that's taking coats. If I didn't ask that question or it didn't come up on topic, I don't know that I would have known how to do that. So, in the world we live in right now, especially in the holidays, things get really tough for a lot of people. So we want to try to do something. I mean, we can't do everything. Resources aren't endless. I mean, there's a half a dozen of us that kind of do this on a day in, day out basis. So, at some point we do have to take a look and say, how much can we do? But it's important. It's really allowed us to kind of, I don't know, feel like we're doing the right thing.
And it's also good too, because, we talk about like the history of the Storm. The Storm was started obviously to give, the Bennington area guys a chance to have a second life at football.
Mm-hmm.
And the direction of it's changed over the years. But in the end, it's still a vehicle to give guys a chance to play football.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just because they're from Troy or North Adams, Mass, or Bennington doesn't matter. We're still part of the community.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, I know we talked about this ad nauseum. And every once in a while, again, I'm not living my life based on social media, but there are times that I hear, oh, it's not the same team it used to be. Well, yeah, of course it's not. If we were trying to just field the team in Bennington, we wouldn't have been able to field the team in at least 5 years. Things are changing. You're a part of that change. With Chad and company, having a great success with the football program. And honestly, that was something that I was going to ask you about. There you go. Excellent. I thought about maybe talking to Chad and having him kind of, talk about his season. That might be something we could do in upcoming weeks.
I think that would be cool, because this is something actually that I hadn't thought about until a handful of weeks ago. So there's 7 of us as coaches. 4 of the coaches played for the Storm. Myself, Bill Hay, our offensive.
Oh yeah.
Bill Hay, our defensive coordinator.
Speaking of which, don't mean to step on your toes. We got to start talking about 2023 Hall of Fame inductees, and I think Bill Hay would make a hell of a candidate.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I think, if I remember correctly, I think we have our offensive coordinator that got in last time, Jim
Fish, yeah.
And then Bill, and then Paul Redding also played in those inaugural years with you. I'm sure of it.
Yes.
So,
yep.
But I guess my point is that even as the team has evolved over the years, the base of it is still here. We've got, what I mean? So like the high school team has guys that were able to have that second chance at playing.
Yeah, and that's where we want to go. Yeah, and I mean, listen, you gotta have morals. You gotta have a mission statement. You gotta try to follow your own constitution, so to speak. and we've been lucky enough to do that. And I think that kind of allows us to continue to have success. But like I said, as I started, it's never been our goal to get away from Vermont players ever. It's just a program that's been down for so long, and now I feel like, again, it's so new. I mean, how many years has Chad coached?
He started
as a head
coach.
Yeah.
2017 as a head coach.
Okay.
But he's been with the program in other ways. I think he was a middle school coach for a while. I want to say maybe 2012 or 13.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe even farther back than that. Maybe a few years farther back than that, because I think he started coaching when he got into teaching, which is probably almost a dozen years ago now. This point, when he became a math teacher in the district.
Yeah, and I mean, just be a good question for him. When the time comes, like, what turned the tide, like, in terms of being the head coach from 17, 18, 19, and so on. Like, what was it? Was it like a class? Was it a change of philosophy? Was it just pure luck, which I don't think it is, because I know how hard Chad works on it and everybody involved in it. But I'd love to know, like, what turned that switch, because they are so different from what they were even 2 seasons ago. It's incredible.
Well, we had 22 seniors this year. We had a lot of, first-year seniors as well. But there is a core of maybe 7 to 10 that have been with it since they were freshmen. And they've been involved in the Mount Anthony football program since they were in the Minutemen. It was Maya. Hadn't turned into Minutemen yet. And so when you get a group of kids like that bond and stay together for 7, 8, 9 years, you see that. And we're going to miss a lot of those guys. The nice thing about it is we have a good group of guys coming up as sophomores becoming juniors becoming seniors. And I think you're going to see a good amount of success again, because and I hesitate to say it because I'm part of it, so I kind of sound like I'm just patting myself on the back, which is not. But the work that, like, especially Chad, he's always there. He's giving these guys, working with them in the weight room. He's doing so much to help lead these kids, and you could see the difference from year 1 to year 2.
Well, no doubt about it. So, it's one of those things that I'm hoping that we kind of get back to, because we don't have those, we don't have what we used to have, and in terms of our change, it was out of necessity, and it was never like done because I mean you could feel however you like to feel about it, but it's just like anything else. If you don't have someone to do it, then you need to do it somewhere else.
I would love to see the kids that, let's say they don't go to college and they want to go into the workforce right away, have that opportunity to play with the Storm, because again, everybody's got a different path. Obviously, some kids are going to go to school, some kids are going to go right into the work, sometimes going to work for family, that kind of thing. And just like it did with me playing in the 2012 year when I played, it gave me a second chance to play the game I love. Same with Paul and Bill and all those all the coaches we have that did it. I would like it to be a place where these kids could, if they want to do that, they can.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's something that that's the goal. We just want to be something that people look forward to and be proud of, and like I said, just continue their playing career. Like we've done it every which way possible. Like we've done it we did an 18. We did it with a very small team. We had another winning year. We started over in 18. We've done it with guys that have AAA experience. We've done everything we possibly can in every different possible variation. But one of the most enjoyable teams was 17. We won it, of course, but those were guys that were, for the most part, Bennington or North Adams.
Yeah,
And
our quarterback, on the fateful winning play,
yeah,
it went from a Bennington guy, Will Cole, to he's Bennington now, but he was a Brattleboro
yeah,
before, but he's
yeah,
Bennington.
exactly. Yeah,
His family is Bennington as well with Marcus Anderson.
yeah, and that's,
So,
I mean,
you know.
it's listen, we want good football players, but we want good people, and we want people to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
We can teach the football. We
Yeah,
can't
that
teach
part's
people to be
easy.
good. We can't teach people to be good. We can
No,
teach
that part's easy. It really just comes down to this friggin' self accountability and just being a good person and being a hard worker and doing what's asked of you and realizing that this is an opportunity. This isn't a favor. You know, this is something that you. I mean, I don't want to get too deep or too, in the woods here, but somebody's going to look back in a couple of years and be like, man, I can't believe we didn't win that championship. And the question is going to be why? Why didn't I do? And that sucks, and that's something we all have to live with. But yeah, I mean, with that, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover on the season. It was a hell of a ride. Met a lot of new people. There's some diamonds in the rough for sure that we found this year.
And we'll be back. I mean, I think we'll have a chance to do some intermittent storm reports as we go forward here through the rest of December and into the new year.
Yep.
And then at that point we'll figure out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I mean, everything's on the table. Like, I'm sure somebody's probably seen the post I put out a few weeks ago, and that's the God honest truth. There's, again, I don't say this, to set off any kind of stir or anything, but there's 3 or 4 leagues that would like us to be there. But we got to sort through all that. It's not a thing that you can sort out in one day. There's a lot of cool opportunities, but we got to do what's right for the team. Not what I want to do or not what this guy wants to do. It's what's best for us. But with that, to wrap it up, I will be putting out a form for the 2023 Storm Hall of Fame class form. I think last year we inducted 12 or 13, Adam, I think. It was a lot.
I think it was 12 individuals, and then the 06 team and the 17, I believe we did both.
Yeah, so we're probably looking at a half dozen this year. So I would I don't, we don't know or remember. We want to know what people think. We want to know, like honestly, if you didn't, I hate to say it, I hate to admit it, but if you didn't bring up Bill Hay, I probably would have forgotten. And Bill deserves to be in there because Bill was the reason why I didn't play a lot. So
we have a not to get too inside baseball, but there in our coach's office there's a picture of him from years ago in his Storm uniform and being like in the middle of being on the field. So
that's great.
That's up there as well. So
it's great.
It's a big part of it. I think we have a Storm helmet in the office as well, if I remember correctly.
No, it's awesome.
Somebody left it in there.
And the other thing is too, like Bill and his wife were instrumental for years, and he would be a fantastic candidate. So if somebody wants to nominate him, that's the first step of being a part of that class. So Adam, I want to thank you on a personal level for everything this year and years past.
I appreciate that.
Hey,
thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the process this year.
Yeah. Hey, man, we won 10 games. I mean, we've only done that one other time.
Between this and the high school, let's see. My record was like 21-5 or something. 21-7 this year between the
No, it's good. I mean, we're lucky. We're blessed. Actually, I can't say we're lucky. We put in the work that allows us to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say we're unlucky in terms of not winning, but we're where we need to be, and I thank everybody for the continuous support, and we will see you on the other side of whatever the next thing is.
Bye for now.